Hello everyone and welcome to the next tutorial here on the Ducttapestuff channel. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make duct tape gloves. I've been getting a crazy amount of requests for this ever since I pretty much started the channel. Everybody wants to know how to make gloves, so we're finally going to tackle that in a tutorial here. I spent a lot of time on the prototypes, actually coming up with a suitable design that should work for you sitting at your computer watching this, so let's get started on how to make a duct tape set of gloves. So the first thing we're going to do is actually make a strip of tape that's actually going to wrap around your hand here, especially this part of the hand here towards the bottom. The reason I'm using gray tape here is for one reason and one reason only, and that's because it is very flexible. This is just the utility grade duct tape. It just looks like this. It's got this like the Duct brand on the inside. It's actually black and white. That's how you can tell if it's utility grade tape. And that's pretty much what I'm using. It's the lowest grade quality tape that Duct brand makes, and it's because since it doesn't have as much adhesive, it's very, very flexible. So that's exactly why I'm using the utility tape. You can use the different colors, but just bear in mind it's going to be a little more rigid, so you definitely want to make it probably a little bit bigger, and then you'll be able to get them on and off hopefully easier if you're using different colors. So let's get started here on our first step. The first thing I did was cut out two strips of tape that are 11 inches long each. Now that's probably a lot longer than I'm actually going to need it, but I just want to overcompensate a little bit. You can go for probably 10 or 11 inches if you're sitting there and trying to figure out what length to cut the strips to. So the first thing you do is you're going to stick them the two strips right on top of each other, just like that. Now, like I said, what we're going to do here is we're actually going to wrap this piece around just like this. Okay? So you're going to take your first piece and go up like that, and then your second piece is actually going to come over just like this. And you're going to see it's not going to come right up against your skin on the sides here. That's just because of the way the duct tape is shaped. But basically what you're going to do is if you can push it over like that and you have just a little bit of overlap on the tape just like that, you're on the right track. And you definitely want to make sure your hand is flat, so put it down like on the table that you're working on, and then you can crisscross it over and hopefully that it's enough. So once you've got that down, we're going to move on to our next step. So once you've got a strip that's long enough, you're going to take two pieces of duct tape that are a couple inches long each. I have one up here and I just stuck the one of them on here. This added about an inch and a half extra sticky side showing here onto this piece. And you're going to have it line up just the way you had it, except you're actually going to take the tape and you're actually going to stick it down on your hand just like that. Now if you have someone helping you out, it's probably going to be easier, but I'm assuming you're doing this by yourself, so just take the tape and stick it right on your hand just like that. I promise it won't hurt too much when you try to peel it up. So put your hand flat once again and kind of maneuver a little bit. This is a little bit of an unorthodox method because gloves are an unusual thing to make, so that's why everything's going to be a little iffy, but we'll try to work with it here. So you're going to cross it over just like that. And you do want a little bit of room on the bottom there, so don't try to make it too tight. So once you've got that crossed over, you can take your second piece, which is up here. When I'm maneuvering, I'll get that over here. And you're basically just going to stick this on, adding this onto the end on here as best you can. It's going to be a little hard with one hand, but you should be able to do it. So get to that point that you were at before, and then just carefully stick it down. And obviously if you want more room, you can just move back a little bit. If you want a little bit tighter, you can just stretch it even tighter across your hand. And if you want to take this part here, basically what you can do is just take that and try not to stick it onto your skin. You can kind of just slip it underneath just like that, and that'll make it a little bit neater. So that's what you got so far. You should be able to put your hand completely out like that. You shouldn't be like all crunched up like this, like a fist. You should be able to move your entire hand out like that. So now we're going to move on to our next step, which will be going across here. So for our next step, we're actually going to make a strip that's going to stretch straight across your hand here. So I have my other piece I have just slid down my wrist here so it doesn't go anywhere. I cut out two more strips that are about roughly 9 or 10 inches long. Not quite as long as the ones that I did earlier, but it's much easier to cut them longer and then you kind of just tuck them in if they're too long, which will probably end up being, but that's okay. So we're just going to stick those right on top of each other just like that. Next thing we're going to do, and you'll notice that on the inside here, this part actually has some sticky sides still showing, but that's actually going to stick down onto this piece when we wrap it around our palm here. So, you're just going to stick it right here, kind of wrap it around across your knuckles, You can slide this down a little bit if it kind of gets in your way. So right about there is where you want it to be. You kind of want it to be just right sitting on your knuckles. Maybe your middle finger knuckle might be showing a little bit. That's about right where you want it. So from there, what we're going to do is we're actually going to take 2 more pieces of tape, like those 2 ones I just showed you, and we're going to connect that together just like it's magically staying connected right now. So take at least 1 strip, so you can apply it right here, and stick that down right across your knuckles right there, and then we'll move on to our next step. Okay, so now I attached a piece there, so there's no way that's going to come apart no matter how much I flex my hand or anything like that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to scoot this up just a little bit. And you kind of want it to come to your hand, so your thumb has kind of like an opening there, and it kind of just crosses right there in front of it. You can take that one piece of sticky side that was showing and just stick that right down onto this piece that's going across here. If there's anything that sticks out towards where your pinky is, you can just tuck that in underneath and try not to stick that onto your skin. Just like that. And now we have the basis for our glove. So a few more little pieces and we'll pretty much have basically our entire glove here. It kind of looks like a gauntlet right now, but we're going to add a few more pieces like onto this part here, and I'll show you make it a little more comfortable for your thumb, and then we'll have the basis for our gloves. So let's get started on those next steps now. Okay, so if you've gotten to this point, you're probably going to notice that this part here is really irritating, stretching against your thumb, just because like when you move your thumb at all, it kind of digs into the side of your thumb there. There's a really easy remedy for that. You're just going to take your pair of scissors, and assuming you still have it on your hand, just be really careful. I'd probably recommend you take it off before you do this, but you can basically just trim like a triangle out of there, and then that should allow just your thumb to have a little more movement in there. If it's not, you know, if it's still uncomfortable, you can trim the triangle a little bigger or a little bit farther up on this strip until it's more comfortable and you can move around and flex it without any trouble. So that's how to deal with that one little problem there. The next thing you're going to do is we're actually going to make a strip that's going to go right here. So I cut out a few more strips of tape that are about 5 or 6 inches long, because we're basically just going to attach it here, and it's going to go to about here and maybe wrap around a little bit. So we're going to stick these 2 pieces together just like this. I think it's kind of cool how I'm making all these strips with my half glove on here, but that's pretty cool. I'm going to attach another strip of tape right to the side here towards the end, and that's actually going to stick, let's see here. Actually, you know what? I probably shouldn't have done it right there. We're actually going to put it a little bit farther up. Now, whatever. I'll do it for now, and then we'll show you what I'm doing later. So I'm just going to stick that right on there for now. That's going to cover up that part there, and obviously this is going to wrap around a little bit more, so we're just going to come around to the side here. This should go right on top of what you already have, so it shouldn't be too hard just to stick it right down here without any trouble. And then just cover up right there, just like that. And then I'll show you what I did just to make this a little bit more even here in our next step. Alright, so for this part here, I just took that extra sticky side that was showing, that was stuck right here, and I just folded it back on itself, so we're back to where we were. I'm just going to take 2 small pieces of tape, and I'm actually going to attach them vertically instead of horizontally, so that obviously it isn't sitting there on your skin. If you've got any little pieces, just curl those right back around underneath. Grab your second piece here. It's kind of interesting because you're actually making the glove while it's on you, rather than actually, you know, like putting the glove down and then working on it from there. So this is pretty much the basis for your entire glove right there. You can also take a few more strips and kind of add them around around your thumb here if you want to make it not quite as jagged on the edges here. But that's pretty much the basis for your duct tape glove. I'd really tried to make them like more of a fingerless gloves, like going up a little bit and then having actually loops that went around the inside of your fingers here. But the problem with those is because even if you make them fairly loose, when you try to take off the glove, they really just come apart, and there's really no way to attach them really well. So basically what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you where to cut, so that you can maybe use a little bit of Velcro, and so you can get the glove off without too much trouble, without, you know, like ripping it apart or anything like that. So that'll be our next step. I'll show you how to cut it and where to put some Velcro on there. So if you want to make your gloves a little bit easier to take off and take on, because the way I had it, just like all sealed up, there's pretty much no way you're going to get them off without ripping them apart. So to do that, what you do is just come right here down where your thumb is, and you just want to cut that piece just right there. That's all you have to do, and then you should be able to take the glove off really easily. Now for this part here, basically what I did is just took a small piece of Velcro, and I just stuck those two pieces down. Now this is the kind of like just the small sticky circle Velcros, and you can guess where I got these. I get them all the place where I get all my other duct tape, and that is Walmart. So you can get these at Walmart. They have, I probably have a few other different kinds as well. They probably have squares and stuff like that, but I just got the circle ones. And you can stick more than one on here if you want, but this one just should work out pretty well. And you can just stick that down, and obviously it stays on just like that. You can use duct tape as well, just to kind of stick it on. But you will have to obviously peel that off and on every time you decide to take your gloves off. But I'll show you how easy it is. You just take that just like that, and then you just slip your glove right off. It's pretty much as simple as that. So you definitely want to cut that there and then put some Velcro or something like that on it, because there is no way you're going to be able to get this off normally without having some sort of way of getting it off. So that's pretty much how to make a duct tape glove. Really simple to make. I really didn't think they were that easy until I really tried to come up with some good prototypes. You can obviously now take some color and you can add all kinds of stuff to it, and it'll make it look a little more colorful if you want to do it in all black or something like that, or have some design on there. If you want to make it for your right hand, I did it on my left obviously, you're going to do it exactly the same way, except you're just going to mirror the process onto this hand. So take the exact same strips, stretch them around the exact same way I showed you, and then just attach them and trim them whenever you need to, and you will have two duct tape gloves. So that pretty much concludes this tutorial on how to make duct tape gloves. I'm glad you guys waited this long just to finally see this tutorial. I know it's been a long time since I've got this request. I've gotten a lot of requests for it over the past couple weeks, so I was finally able to get it for you. So take care. I'll see you guys on the channel. Subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.